up, everybody? We have some scary TikTok stories. Let's check them out.
This is why you should always change your locks.
Mr. Ballin.
In 2017, a college girl woke up from a nightmare drenched in sweat and decided to rinse off before going back to sleep. She propped her phone on a shelf, turned on some music, and then hopped in the shower.
Okay.
A few minutes later, she reaches for her phone to change the song, but stops suddenly. Reflected on her phone's screen was a person standing in the middle of her bathroom facing the shower.
Oh, shit. Oh, that's like my worst fear. You know that, right? Man, I lock my doors every night just in case a motherfucker would.
She somehow kept her composure, turned the water to scalding hot, and then ripped open the curtain and sprayed the intruder in the face.
Wow.
As they howled in pain, she ran past them to her kitchen to get her butcher's knife. In a panic, she can't find her knife, so she just runs out of the apartment and calls the police.
Wow.
The police go in and come out with a crazy-looking woman in handcuffs. One of the officers comes over to the girl and says she used to live here and she had copies of your keys. Then he pauses and looks down and brings up a clear evidence bag that contained her butcher's knife, and he says, "Looks like she wanted her apartment back."
That's got to be the most scariest thing, man. That's like something out of a movie.
Something terrifying going on at Chuck E. Cheese right now, and
Chuck
I'm
E.
going to
Cheese.
explain it to you. So we all know about the game Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It's a game based around a restaurant that's pretty much like a Chuck E. Cheese where the animatronics come to life and wreak havoc on all the guests there.
Right.
But what if I told you this was possibly happening in real life right now?
Nah, fam.
Just 2 days ago, 5 children have gone missing inside of a Chuck E. Cheese, and the parents reported a weird smell from the inside of the building. And then just like Five Nights at Freddy's, someone that worked the late night shift actually got killed after hours. Now these are all pretty weird, but here's the kicker right here. Check out this headline. Night shift workers from Chuck E. Cheese claim strange movement from animatronics post hours. So I don't know. What do you think about this? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake? And I mean, with 2020 and everything going on, like I wouldn't be shocked if it was real.
I mean, I have the same sentiments, but that would be horrifying. I'm not gonna lie to you, Chuck E. Cheese was a really dope place as a kid, but those animatronics were fucking creepy when I was younger. I never went to their little show they were having. You can like sit down and eat some pizza and look at them play their little instruments. I never went over that way. I never went over that way. I went to either the arcades or the ball pit, and that was it. I was like, fuck that show. I ain't going over there. They look creepy.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 1.
Okay.
When creating the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, they couldn't create skeletons that looked realistic enough, so they used real human skeletons.
Why? Why do you have to use real human skeletons? I would have never known. It looks real to me. Does it have to be that authentic? I don't really feel like it needs to be.
Since then, they've removed all but one. Ducks sometimes become cannibals due to boredom, meaning they kill and eat each other. This behavior begins as early as 4 weeks old.
For real?
Crocodiles are capable of galloping, similar to a horse. Luckily, alligators cannot.
They'll never
and while
catch
we're at
me.
it, tarantulas can swim. It's extremely common after you die that there will be extreme gas buildup and you will burp after death. And sometimes dead bodies can even sit up on their own.
Oh,
also,
fuck.
if a pregnant woman dies, the gas buildup in her body can actually forcefully push a baby out. In other words, a post-mortem baby bazooka.
They're wrong for that picture, bro.
Hearing is the last bodily function to go after one dies, so it's very possible that the last thing you ever hear is the paramedic calling off your CPR.
This is why
Wow,
you should
that's
never stay in sketchy
depressing.
motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks away with the key. When she gets inside her room and sees there are literally cockroaches in her bed, she says nope and decides to sleep in her car in the parking lot.
Gross.
Around 3 a.m., she wakes up to see the check-in guy using his own keys to get into the motel room she was supposed to be in. A few minutes later, he storms out and slams the door and starts walking towards her car.
What?
Terrified, she hides under her blanket as the man tries to open her car doors but can't and walks away. She speeds off and calls her friend and asks her to look up the address of Mountaintop Motel so she can give it to police. Her friend's quiet for a second and then just says,
All right, Mr. Ballin, bro. I get that you're trying to have like this visual representation in the background, bro, but These are some creepy ass pictures, man.
Says the Mountaintop Motel closed a week ago. If someone offers you this,
Wow,
walk
it actually
away.
closed.
In 2016, a man was staying at his friend's cabin in the woods when he decided to go for an evening stroll. A little ways down the trail, he hears someone call out from behind his neighbor's house. He looks up and he sees this skinny guy pop out from behind the building
Slender
and starts
man?
waving frantically at him to come over. Worried this guy could be in trouble, the man takes off running to assist, but when he gets close enough, the neighbor just offers him a fistful of Slim Jims and starts talking about how much he hates his wife. Sensing there was something wrong with this guy, he says no thank you to the Slim Jims and walks away.
the
The
fuck?
next day, the man calls his friend who owned the cabin to ask him what the deal was with his weirdo neighbor. There was silence on the phone, and then his friend just says, I don't have any neighbors. The police are called, and it turns out his neighbor was really some lunatic who had recently killed his wife and had been hiding out in the abandoned cabin next door.
That is fucking creepy, man. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna like be so keen on running towards somebody who's waving at me. I don't know that person, man. I don't know you. I mean, especially the setting and the environment, like behind your house. Like, I just don't see the reasoning for me going over there to see what's up. Especially if it's just like some guy just offering me some Slim Jims. I don't need no fucking Slim Jims. I need you to fucking leave me alone.
This is why you always say yes to Tandoori Chicken. In 2012, a high school tutor and her student stayed up so late one night studying that by the time they were done, the buses had stopped running. Without another way home, the student asked if he could stay the night at her place. Reluctantly, she agreed. When they got back to the apartment, she fell asleep on her bed and he fell asleep on a blanket next to her bed on the ground. A few hours later, she wakes up to the boy standing awkwardly in the middle of the room with a very strange look on his face. She asks him, what's wrong?
What?
He looks at her and says, I'm really hungry. Let's go get some tandoori chicken. Confused, she says, it's 2 a.m. Just get a snack in the cupboard.
For starters, I'd be spooked because imagine waking up at night to your friend just like staring at you, talking about let's go get some chicken. I mean, I'm not gonna pass up some good chicken though, but but that's horrible timing. Most people would probably agree that's really fucking weird and creepy.
And he grabs her by the arm and he says, no, we are getting tandoori chicken right now. And he yanks her from the bed. Feeling totally caught off guard by this whole situation, she goes into the hall with the boy, and as soon as the door shuts behind them, she can tell that he is terrified. He looks at her and just says, I'm not actually hungry. When I woke up, there was someone under your bed. This is why you should always...
What? Oh my god. That's creepy. There was someone under her bed? So you telling me if he slept next to her bed, he didn't already see this person right there? How do you not know? You should be seeing everything that's under her bed at that point. How did you not notice?
In the early 1970s, a college student decided to hitchhike his way home after class. A car pulls up, a man offers him a ride, and he climbs in. As soon as the car started moving, the student felt totally uneasy, like something was wrong but he couldn't quite place it. Without saying anything, he waited till the next time they slowed down and he flung the door open and ran away. 2 years later, he's flicking through TV channels when he comes across this special interview with a death row inmate. And it's just the audio recording, so he hears the interviewer ask the inmate, why did you remove all the door handles inside of your car? The man just goes, well, the first time I tried to kill someone, I picked up a college hitchhiker who got smart at some point and jumped out of my car. So, lesson learned, remove all the door handles. When they showed this picture, the student knew immediately that he was supposed to be the first victim of John Wayne Gacy, aka the killer clown, who had killed over 30 men and boys in his clown room and stuffed them into his basement.
Oh shit. See, that's a prime example of following your gut. Now, your gut may not always be right, but most of the time it's going to be. You can pretty much sense when things are off. Sometimes I'll go to a function and I'm looking around, I'm like, the vibe's kind of off. I don't know what it is, but I feel it in my gut that this is something ain't right. And I'll fucking leave. And sometimes that will save your life. So trust your gut, people.
This is why you should always trust your gut. In the 1970s, a young couple decided to go for a late night hike in the woods. A couple minutes into their walk, and the man remembers thinking, something's not right. He tells his girlfriend, but they just decide to ignore it and keep going until
Ignore it and keep going? Why the fuck are people like this?
he steps on something that felt really soft, like it was alive. Before he has a chance to see what he stepped on, they hear all this rustling in the bushes next to them and they bolt. Years later, that couple turns on the TV and a death row inmate who's about to be executed is being interviewed. And they ask him, was there ever a time that you were almost caught red-handed? He responded, yes, one time. I was in the woods and a couple walked through and the man actually stepped on the body of a girl I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away. They didn't see me. That couple had run into one of the worst serial killers of all time.
Whoa.
So supposedly this is what the fallen angel Lucifer
That is fucking... I mean, these people have impeccable timing and luck. I mean, imagine if Ted Bundy was like, you know what? I feel like they saw what I just did, so I'm just gonna grab a bat, or better yet, a gun, and just kill them both. I know the 1970s was a different era, and back in those days, you can basically leave your doors unlocked and, you know, have your door opens and nobody would fuck with you. You can't do that shit now, but I personally would never, ever go on a late night hike in the middle of the night, you know, because, I mean, nowadays, you may not come back from that because there's some people out there creeping. So they're just really lucky to be alive.
So supposedly this is what the fallen angel Lucifer looks like.
Oh. Okay.
And this is what the moon looked like on March 31st, 2020.
Oh God.
I don't know about any of you guys, but this is scary, especially with everything going on in the world right now.
I mean, yeah.
Pretty cool.
That is pretty creepy, though.
Let this be a reminder that there really are monsters out there. In 2007, a woman living right near a prison in California got home late one night and went right to bed. Around midnight, she woke up to footsteps on her first floor, assumed it was her roommate, so she goes downstairs to say hi. She yells out to her roommate, who doesn't say anything, and then in walks this giant man who she doesn't recognize. She runs upstairs, jumps in her closet into the crawl space and hides. As she's helplessly tucked away in this little crawl space, trying not to make any sound, all she hears is this giant man sprinting around her house, running into walls, flipping furniture and screaming in frustration because he can't find her. Finally, after several hours, she slowly opens the crawl space back up, crawls out and gets her phone off the nightstand and calls police. As she's telling the police her story, she describes the person who had broken in and they stop her and say, "Ma'am, go back in the crawl space and stay there. We'll be there as soon as we can." It turned out a 6'11" convicted murderer had escaped the prison and was still on the loose.
That looks like a fake ass picture. If that is real, holy shit. He looks like fucking handsome Squidward. Handsome Squidward's out here killing people, bro? Are you serious? I'm sorry. If that's real, I'm sorry, but that he looks like handsome Squidward, bro.
If you scare easily, I wouldn't watch this video.
I'm just gonna call this the Mr. Baldwin Scary TikTok compilation because he's in every single TikTok pretty much. But I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all.
In 2013, a mine explorer found this entrance to an abandoned mine and decided to go have a look around. He decides to film his experience and upload it to his YouTube channel where he had uploaded hundreds of other videos of him exploring mines, but he never once references the paranormal or ghosts or anything like that until this video. As soon as he steps foot inside, he tells the camera that he has a really uneasy feeling about being there and wonders if he should even keep going, but he does.
No.
Everything seems pretty normal until he gets to a section in the mine where there's a bunch of chains hanging down from the ceiling. He hears something in the back of the tunnel, so he pulls his flashlight out and he shines it towards the back, and he sees a chain swinging, and it shouldn't be, because there's no draft and he's all alone, and you can tell he's scared by the way he starts talking. Although he's totally freaked out, he wants to know what's causing the chain to swing, so he goes farther and farther into the mine until he hears something.
You go farther and farther into the mine. Why? I just can't, for the love of my life, understand the logic behind going into an abandoned mine. After you're already spooked out, you think something's in here with you. I'm going to further investigate just because I want to see what it is. That's how people go missing, man. I guess I'm crazy.
People whispering in every direction. He gets totally spooked and runs out. If you don't want to sleep tonight, watch the whole video.
Oh, I ain't watching
This
that.
is why you should never open your door for strangers. In 2013, a woman let her dog out to use the bathroom one more time before bed. After only a few minutes, she starts hearing scratching on her door, which is typically the sound her dog makes when he's ready to come in. But it just seemed way too soon for him to be done being outside. So she decides to look through the peephole to make sure it really is her dog. But what she sees is terrifying. A deranged-looking man is right outside her door, staring intently at her door handle, waiting for it to turn open. As she's looking in horror, unable to do anything, he starts scratching at the door as hard as he can, never leaving his gaze from the door handle. She manages to stifle a scream, she backs away, and realizes her dog is still outside.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to demonstrate to you a visual representation of what I would do in this situation. Observe. Who is it? Who is it?
So she goes to the side window, but there's no sign of her dog, and so she goes back to the door to see if maybe the man's moved. He hasn't moved, his mouth is open, and he's staring directly at the peephole. Then he turns around and walks away. With the man gone, she discovers her dog unharmed, his leash had just been cut. But that means he had a knife.
Oh, that just ended. Most of the stuff is avoidable in my opinion, but you ain't gonna never know if somebody's gonna try you at your front door. I'm not hitchhiking ever. I'm not taking long walks at night at like 2 a.m. Not happening. I make sure that I'm never ever going to a motel because motels are creepy and sketchy. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about these stories. If you think they're real or fake, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next reaction video. Peace!